Welcome to Fails, Falls, and Fuck Ups. And on the plate today is a heaping helping of broken dreams, abject failures, and of course, the trials and tribulations of working in the food industry. And to dish all of this out, we're talking to Chef Al Romano. Chef, how you doing today?
How you doing?
Well, after so much wonderful technological joy, we're finally talking to each other, which hopefully will continue.
We are. Gotta love the internet. Gotta love technology.
Yes. So we've already had our first fuck up of the day, but
Yes, we have.
the viewers and listeners can't hear or see that, or at the very least, hopefully they won't. Let's get into it. Let's dive into it. Let's start with a little bit of your history. How did you go from how did you get involved in all this? What made you go, my life should be entirely built around the presentation and the creation of food?
Well, it all started when I was a kid. Actually, when I was in high school, I kind of didn't know what I really wanted to do. I wasn't, let's say, the sharpest tool in the shed. So I didn't know. I had to do something. I thought I wanted to go into IT. I was a good athlete in high school. I like to party. I like to have fun. I like to chase women, but I didn't. My grades weren't there to get into a really good school. Of course, my mother wanted me to be a lawyer. It didn't happen. I was working in a restaurant. I think my freshman year, first job I got as a dishwasher in a French restaurant. Then I got another job as a busboy in another restaurant, and I stayed at this restaurant for a while. Worked my way up to all different positions. I worked bar, worked front of the house, prep cook, the cook. That they actually let me cook the real food. Um, so I thought I had a future there, but I didn't know what I want. I had to do something. So I was graduation, and I was going to join the Marine Corps. My dad said he's a Marine too. He said no, don't do it. um, you know, do something else. So I ended up decided to go into culinary school because I was good at it. I mean, I didn't think about it. I didn't have to, like some people have to study and really practice at it. It came more natural to me. So I just started cooking, and then I started taking some classes at local community college. Got a degree in hotel restaurant management. Then I went to the CIA, which was probably the best culinary school in the country. And that was 1984. I graduated CIA, and then started working all around New York City, New York, and had a blast. I mean, just had a lot of fun. I never thought I would, get that far because, like I said, you think culinary school, oh, it's going to be easy cooking. It was hard. It was really hard. Very regimented, and learned a lot. And like I said, once I got out, then I kind of, just started going all over the place.
Now, before we move on and follow your journey that way, I want to clarify something because we see these terms thrown around. You're a chef. You were a cook.
Mhm.
You might have even at some point been a sous chef. What does it really mean to be a chef? What is the job of a chef? How is that different than a sous chef or just, the guy working the grill?
That's a great question because my students ask, I ask that question the first day of class every year. And, I say, well, what's the difference between a chef and a cook? And, they say all these different things, but number one is the money. Chefs make a lot more money than cooks.
The important part.
The important is knowledge, experience, and dedication. A chef has to be a leader, has to run the whole show, has to be a manager, it has to be a mother to sometimes, because sometimes, I'd be in my office, I'd have a waitress crying because her boyfriend is having problems with that. Another time, I have to deal with other people. You're a psychologist and trying to figure out other problems what they're doing. Um, uh, then of course you have to be a cook. You have to have eyes behind your head because people steal, walk out the back door with food. Um, just watch everything. But the bottom line is chef is like means chief in French, really. And so you're in charge. You're in charge. It's like a god. When I was going to school or coming up the ranks, chef was the god. Chef walks in the room, you jump. That's it. It's like the president walking in the room or whatever. The chef is the man or woman for that matter. It didn't matter, so you'd want to be that person. Like I said, and it was funny because they could be this big fat guy, and look really ugly, or they could be, usually they were, they were always usually these big fat guys.
You got to taste the food. You got to know.
Right. Never trust a skinny chef. That's what I said. I've lost a bunch of weight. I used to be one of those guys. I lost, about 50 pounds, in the last 5 years or so.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I'm thinking like what you said about, cook and chef. Anybody could cook. Anybody could cook. You've got some great cooks out there. But to be, but you have to be a cook to be a chef. I'm a cook, but I'm also a chef. To be a chef, you don't have to be a cook. So it's like there are a lot of professionals out there. Or even like on TV, you watch. They're good cooks. Are they chefs? No. To really be a chef, did you, like I competed in my life in a lot of culinary competitions. Ran restaurants, ran hotels, ran country clubs. So it's just running the whole kitchen. It's a business, it's like a whole business. Sometimes you don't even cook. You go in there and you just making sure everything's happening. So, you're the conductor.
The conductor. So more a matter of you would design an item of food. That sounds very appealing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would pass it along to the people working under you, and they would be the ones in charge of making it to your specifications.
Yeah, and I get all the credit. The chef gets all the credit, and it gets all the grief and everything else. So yeah, you're creating the menus. You're doing all that. And the number one thing too is cost. Knowing food cost and how much to make a profit. A lot of people. That's why 95% of the restaurants out there go under, because people think, oh, I'm going to make X amount of money on certain items. Like, granted, I'll ask you a question. Like on a $20 item, what do you think the owner puts in their pocket at the end of the day after they paid all their help and everything? What do you think?
Probably about 20%.
No way, not even close.
Then I would go to 5.
Right, anywhere between 2 and 10%. 10% is a high, but think about it. So even if they made 10% on a $20 item, that's $2 put in their pocket. Say like they selling a burger for $10, right? 10, that's $1. So think about how many burgers they'd have to sell to make a decent payoff.
And that's provided that they've made enough to actually pay the bills.
Yeah, that's all based on paying the help, labor costs, all that. That's when I say that percentage of profit margin. So, and chefs got to know that stuff. They have to know if they're going to make money and stuff. And you have to control all that stuff in your kitchen, especially on a large scale.
How difficult of a job is it? Because for most people, what we get is a romanticized vision on Food Network, or probably the most romanticized or pop culture version would be Gordon Ramsay, who is just, he's in a flaming kitchen. He's doing these rescues. But how hard is it to really make this happen?
It's hard. I'm telling you. It's like I said. So 90% of the restaurants that open are usually closed within 5 years. But actually, first 2 years they're closed, and after 5 years, it's 95%. That's the survival rate. So what you see on TV is a bunch of bullshit. It's fun. It's good to look at. It's drama, but that's about it. That's about it. And there are figureheads. Your Gordon Ramsays, your Wolfgang Pucks. They're good. They know their stuff. But as far as real life experience, I don't know how much they really have. They obviously have a lot of people working for them. They do really well, and that's awesome. Your Bobby Flay's, Rachel Ray's, But, when it comes down to it, actually running the place or actually doing it. And then they have their own thing, but again, they have an entourage of people doing everything. But when you're, the mom and pop operation, you got your small restaurant, whatever. If you're cooking, sometimes you're doing everything. You have to, and you want to delegate. You can't do it all yourself. Definitely, you can't do it all yourself, and that's the problem. And now with help, it's so hard to get because, in our industry, the numbers, trying to get help, people, they want 15, $20 an hour to cut celery and rip cabbage apart or whatever. So it's crazy. It's hard. It's really hard. It's one of the toughest jobs out there, and it's hard on your family. For instance, I worked over almost 20 years. I never saw having a Thanksgiving off. I was never home with my family for 20 years. Every Thanksgiving I worked, every Mother's Day, every holiday, Valentine's Day, whatever. Never get to do, like, and like when I was younger in my 20s, all my friends were going out and having fun, partying Friday and Saturday nights. I'd be working till at least midnight, in the hotels and the restaurants. And sometimes you got to get up the next day, 7 o'clock. I would put in, like, when I ran my club here, the last club I had, I was probably working 40 hours this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This in 3 days.
How many restaurants did you open? How many of them did you close? And what was the toll on you in doing so?
Not so much restaurants. When I worked in the never opened some hotels, but never had to close any. Never had to close any, which is, I could tell you about some fuck ups in my ice business, but when it comes to the restaurant end of it, not so many. I was pretty careful, and I stayed away from a lot of that stuff.
So you always were in conjunction with something. It was never all the risk on you.
At first, it was when I was younger. I thought about, I went into the business with a couple of partners, and it was, it was a risk, and I kind of sold out because I didn't want to do it because I was working all the time, and I never took the big risk in doing it. I had a couple of chances of doing it. I always ended up working, and I had my own catering business. But what I did, I started small, and whatever I made, I put back into the business. So I kind of played it safe. I never made a million, say doing that, but I did okay. I did really well.
Now, you mentioned how you didn't have a social life because, when people are going out, they're going out to go to your place.
Right.
You're the destination.
Correct.
So you didn't get to have the life for fun. How much of a toll was that on you in your 20s into your 30s? How much of a toll did it take? How did you eventually find your way to have a relationship, wife, and eventually children?
Well, our business has one of the highest divorce rates out there, and it cost me my first marriage. So I had kids. I could, my kids will tell you they hardly saw me their first 5 years. You can't make up that time. And so I didn't see them a lot. So I was working, 12, 14-hour days, 6 days a week. And I was exhausted on my day off. And then you have to do the other stuff. So it was hard. It was hard, it was hard on my ex-wife, and not being around at all. And I had a big commute too, which didn't help. You see your people that you work with more than you do your family. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. And a lot of times, the chef's banging the waitress, or it's always something doing, out there that could get you in trouble. Alcohol is a really big thing, in drugs in our business. Back in the 70s and 80s, everybody smoked. Everybody went to take cigarette breaks. Then, after work, you go drinking. That's what you did. The whole crew would go out and drink. Anthony Bourdain's book, Kitchen Confidential, probably tells it all. Whatever all the stuff he said in there, all true, all true.
So a bunch of cocaine used to get through the 14-hour days.
Not for me, but some other people, yes, definitely, for sure. And it really took them down. Most chefs, like if you work in that kind of hours, time to 40 years old, they're burnt out. You don't see too many chefs my age still working the 12-hour shifts and doing the stuff I did. That's why I kind of went into teaching, you know.
And when they do burn out, what tends to happen to them? I'm sure there's not an actual pattern, but so you got somebody who had all these dreams. They worked their asses off to the point they burned the candle at both ends, whatever euphemism you want to use. But at some point, they just were like fucking done. What happens then?
They either get out of the business totally, they just say they commit culinary suicide, as we call it, or yeah, they just uh, maybe try other venues. But other people out there, they fail sometimes and they come back. A lot of times, like Thomas Keller, he failed his first restaurant. He owns the one over by you guys. What's his name? Can't think of the name out there in California. But Thomas Keller, like one of the best chefs out there. A lot of them had great, had restaurants and they failed and came back. American Laundry, that's the restaurant out in California. Yeah, per se in New York. Like I mean, these tie-in restaurants that like these guys had, and they failed the first time and came back. You have to have the passion and really want to do it, and they're still doing it. I had like one of my best friends. He was one of my men. I worked with him when I got out of culinary school, and we worked together. And he got burnt out. He learned to be a machinist. He said he was an awesome chef, but he just didn't want to do it no more. He didn't want to work the hours. So many, a lot of them got into just different trades. They just said, I'm done. I like to cook, but I don't want to do it for a living.
Being a professional chef, does that affect your desire or ability to want to cook at home?
Well, now I cook at home. I tell you, if I knew what I knew now back in the day, I would have cooked for all women. Because it's fun. I mean, it's a catch point. You say,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'll cook you dinner," and women love guys that cook. I mean, and vice versa. If you're a woman, guys love that women cook. So it doesn't matter whoever your partner is. You know, they love, if you're going to cook for them, because you put love into cooking, and you put it all out there and put it on the plate, man.
It's also such a primal thing because food is one of the basic needs. And for somebody to provide you quality food, that just speaks right to the lizard brain. That's somebody taking care of you. It's such a fundamental need. And to cover it well just reflects so kindly and so wonderfully on the person doing it.
Right.
I've not made it while you are here, but I've got this family apple cake recipe that I use for control and emotional manipulation because it's so good. And I will take it to the gym and watch all of the people who do not eat anything other than egg whites
Yeah.
fight over this cake. And I know what I'm doing because it's such a good family recipe. It's emotional manipulation.
Orgasm in your mouth, man. Orgasm is what it is.
Yes. I've known people who've worked in the food industry, and by the time they would get off work, they're done. They're just getting a burger from
Mhm.
some fast food place, or they're throwing pizza rolls in the oven.
Yep. Yep. I did that many times, many years. I've done that. But I tell you, I met my wife. My wife. I'm now married 11 years to 12 years, and I mean, I was online. I just said I was a chef. And man, that was it. That was it. I just and you're a chef. Yep. And you carve ice too. I said, yep. We were married, not too much longer. I mean, but yeah, and I was surprised because I was doing the online dating and all the responses. Well, I said it was a chef, and they loved that because again, everybody here they think they're glamored all this, and but you could tell the horror stories. I could tell you so many war stories that you know you're working on a Saturday night and your dishwashers don't you don't show up, so you got to wash dishes, or at the end of the night you don't get home till 3 o'clock, or um, your sous chef ends up burns a whole tray of potatoes, or that's just it's just something like that. It's just nightmares, man. You don't even think of, and you go into some other places and they're so nasty, they're dirty as anything, and you wouldn't want to eat there. So there's a lot. There's a lot.
What would you say was your worst experience throughout your career? What was the thing that really just hit you hard?
Um, I had a chef that I was when I was a sous chef, and you had this executive chef, then you had executive sous chef, and I was a sous chef, and they would make try to make me look bad for some reason. I don't know why. They would turn the oven up on me. Like I would put something in the oven, and they would put it to 500, so I'd burn it. Or they would just talk behind my back, stab me in the back. They would just try to mess me up somehow.
So they were trying to, was it new guy hazing or was it very much, let's try to get this guy fired?
Let's try it. Well, because I think the executive sous chef was was just I don't know. He was intimidated by me. I think he thought I wanted his job, which I didn't care about. But I was dating I was dating his ex girlfriend, but I didn't know that.
Ah,
So I guess he was just trying to get me back at that. And the chef, for some reason, he just thought. I mean, I would call him on stuff like, he told me he was a master chef. I said, "You're not a master chef." "Yes, I am." I said, "You're 28 years old." I mean, he wasn't that old. He was like 30 years old. I said, "No, no, you." And I would call him on stuff, and he didn't like that. He didn't like to be called on stuff or be shown up with stuff. And I don't like people that are like that. I mean, I want to learn. I mean, I'll give anybody a recipe. I'll show them what to do. If you can do it better than me, great.
well, that's why you're a teacher.
Yeah, yeah, but a lot of chefs are really insecure. They you tell, like they won't even share like a recipe. Like, you got a good recipe. Oh, I can't give it to you because it's my secret recipe. Bullshit. I tell my students, I'll give everybody the same recipe here. You go home and make these, like, say, chocolate chip cookies. Like, same standard. I guarantee you, come back, they'll all be different. Everybody's oven's different. Everybody's going to put too much sugar in, too much chips, going to bake them too long. I could give you a recipe and you could do it, right?
I could.
Would it be the same as mine? No, it could be better than mine. Or it could, you could, or you might put your own flair to it. So, that's what I do. I mean, I look up, like, I got to do a live, I got to do a TV spot tomorrow morning live. And, I got, I'm doing some different salsas and stuff. So I go on the internet, look at just, what's out there. I take their stuff and I make it mine. And I just change a couple of ingredients, change the top, and that's it. And if you're going to put your stuff out there, people are going to share it. They want to use it. And that's great. I mean, I want to, anybody's welcome to my stuff. I like to hear it. But when I guess they start saying, oh, it's my, I'm not going to tell you how to do it. You're an asshole. Basically, I tell them.
How did that job where the chef wanted to, where the sous chef was pissed at you because you're dating his ex, which you didn't know, the chef just turned out to be, well, just sounds like a major asshole. Did you eventually lose that job? Did you eventually quit that? I mean, of course you did, because here you are years later.
Yeah, I did. I quit. But I confronted the sous chef. Eventually, I just said, what's your problem? And we got, let's just say
You had a fight.
he had a hurt leg when we were done. He got hurt a little bit. That's all. And I quit. And I just said, I'm giving my notice. I can't work here. And that was it. I'm done. Another time I was thinking too, when I'm probably that's when I was in my early years. But later, when someone played with my numbers, I ran a club, country club, and we were one of the top clubs in the area. And I was there probably 7, 8 years already. And we got new management in there, new general manager. I knew he wanted to bring a chef, and he brought his food and beverage manager in. But they really couldn't fire me because the members really liked me. They liked my food. We had a great staff. And again, the intimidation of it. And I was making more money than the food and beverage manager, and almost as much as the general manager. And they didn't like the fact that I was making what I was making. And so we could get someone in here for half your salary. I said, go for it, fire me. See how well the members are going to take that. You got 12. We had 1,400 members. I said, yeah, okay. And yeah, go for it. But they just made my life miserable towards the end, where I, left. I ended up leaving. But the funny thing was when I gave my resignation to the owner, because it was a private club, he offered me like 10 grand to stay. And I said, no, I can't work with these people. I'm sorry. I can't work. I just, these guys are ripping you off. They were playing with the numbers and stuff. They were stealing liquor. And I said, just watch yourself. And he goes, oh, no, I don't think so. I think you're a little over exaggerated. I said, okay. I ran into the owner like a year later. He said, Al, you're right. You were right. Sorry, I didn't listen to you because they were ripping them off.
I imagine that's quite prevalent in the industry,
It is.
especially with a hands-off owner.
Yeah, exactly.
How often did fights occur? Because you did mention you had this fight with this one guy who deserved it and his hurt leg. But how often, maybe not just with you, but just in general, how often? Because it's a very high emotion environment.
Right. I've had to break up a few fights a lot of times, like people, right? You try to not to escalate it or, you base most company policies, if you're fighting, you automatic termination. But you try to this and I had some guys back as utility help, and they were kind of, I'm not saying they were crazy, but they were on the edge, and little things would tick them off. I had this really good guy. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he just came back, and he was, he couldn't handle loud noises. I mean, he was a super nice guy, and he'd do anything for you. But sometimes, he would just freak out a little bit, and he would, he would go off, and I would have to calm him down. But rightfully, someone threw a knife in the sink, in the water, and he grabbed it and he cut himself, and he just went off. It's like, so. I mean, I'll blame the guy. I would probably did the same thing, but I remember he went off at one time, and this little things. I'm not, but I don't. Through my years, I don't. I notice. I tell you what. Now, as an instructor, students today, they're not social like they used to be. They don't talk. They don't talk to each other, and everybody's like, not. I mean, you don't have that interaction like you used to for something.
We've become more isolated because of the social media and urban sprawl and COVID and all of that stuff. It's definitely a different world.
Definitely, yeah.
What do you say to your students coming into the industry? How do you prepare them for the fact that it's harder than they think it is? They're signing up for a lot more work and aggravation than they really think they are.
I tell them like it is. I mean, I just tell it like it is. I said, first, like, so if I get like the first year students, the first thing I'll do is I'll go around the room and introduce yourself. Why are you here? What do you want to do? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'll ask them that. And like the second year students, I'll kind of say, what are your goals? Is this what you thought it'd be after 2 years being here? Do you think is this what you want to do? But I'll tell them the realities, like I said, about working holidays, weekends, nights. Pays. You're not going to make a lot of money for a while. It's not like you're going to graduate with an accounting degree or an IT degree and start out making 80 grand. I said, you're going to make, maybe you're going to start out making 25,000, if that.
With student debt.
Yeah, with student debt, right. And that's why a lot of those culinary schools went under, because they were charging so much money, and the students didn't make that kind of money when they got out. But eventually you would, like when I tell them how much I made, that and like their mind, they think I'm really rich. I said no. I said, but I didn't make that in the beginning. I started out. It took me probably at least 5 years before I started making any money. You got to pay your dues in this business. You could be in the right place at the right time and meet the right people, and you might luck up, but your chances of getting on TV are pretty slim. If you do, awesome. So I tell them straight up. You got to love it. Either you love it or hate it. If you don't love it, do something else. That's what I tell them.
You mentioned that you had more mistakes and failures in your ice carving business. My first question to you is, how do you find your way into ice carving? How does that become like you know what? This block of ice is speaking to me. I know that there's a dinosaur in it and I must bring it out.
Yeah, it was weird because we learned a little bit in culinary school, and I really didn't think too much about it. And then that was one of my first jobs. The chef handed me his chainsaw and tools and says, "Al, I need you to carve me something for Thanksgiving." And I said, "I can't do this. What do you?" I did it one time. I carved a beer mug. They gave us a little goblet to do at school, and that's it. And he says, "No, I can't have time. You got it." So I went down there. I carved a cornucopia for Thanksgiving, and chef looked at it and said, "That's good. Did you carve a turkey?" I said, "I don't know. I'll try." And I carved a turkey. They liked it. So ever since then, I got started doing it. So I started doing it at this resort I was at, and I just started doing a bunch. Then my name got out there because this is back 1984, 85, and my name got out there that I was doing it. No one in the New York area was hardly doing ice, any in the country for that matter. It wasn't really popular. Unless you were in a really high-end place or resort. So I started doing some corporate events. I would do like, I remember when E.F. Hutton, I did their big letters. They put it on Wall Street. I carved it out live. I did Chase Manhattan logo. Well, a lot of stuff for the corporate stuff in New York City. And then I did this starting out, and I started getting really good at it. And I didn't think really it was going to end up opening the business. But after probably working in the country club, when I say I got burnt out when I was around 40 years old, I left the country club and I opened Fire and Ice, my ice business. And when I started teaching, because I got the job teaching, and I said, this money sucks. I got to do something. So I started doing the catering, and catering it is really hard work. If you ever catered, you make a lot of money, but it's hard. I didn't want it. So I was incorporating my ice with catering. So I was giving free, ice carvings out, for cheap. And I was thinking, well, I could sell an ice carving. I can make for two ice carvings, which takes me probably a couple hours to do. I can make just as much money as catering a wedding.
Which that's a lot less work. A hell of a lot less work.
Yeah, right. You go there, you set the ice up, and you leave. so so that's how I got involved with that, and and I thought, wow, and it was good money back in the day, and it still is. I mean, it's harder on your body. The older you get, it's hard. I mean, it's very physical. It's very holding a chainsaw, die grinders, all power tools.
The vibrations, because I know it screwed up your shoulders.
Well, that's why my shoulder's like it is. That's why I can't lift it over my head. My right, from chipping and ice and doing all that. My right arm.
Was there any way you could have mitigated that? Was it a technique thing, or just like you just did so much work, there was nothing you could have done?
You don't think about it. I didn't even think about it. I didn't really notice it until I started really getting, like, around 2015. I started doing CrossFit, and that's when I really noticed it. Mm. And I probably injured it more doing that. So
yeah, we all injure ourselves at CrossFit.
Yeah, so I think that might have definitely aggravated it. So yeah, it's affecting us with the push-ups too. I'm doing them, but it's killing me.
I was surprised to see you doing that because of the shoulders.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were, but it just hurts more going up. I could, it affects most of my strength is on my left arm. So we're doing them,
So what were some of the mistakes you made in this business?
Well, not charging enough was one sometimes, because people, like say, "Oh, well, it's this ice. It's going to melt. It's going to go away." I said, "Yeah, you're right. It is. But can you do it? Do you want it? How bad do you want it?" And I tell them, and after a while I said, "Okay, well, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't want it." So right now, an ice sculpture, a single block ice sculpture, 300 pounds block, starts around $450-$500. It used to be, like when I first got in the business, $200. And blocks of ice you could buy for $30. Now a block of ice costs probably $100 just for the block. So and it's the time. It's the time you put into it. And how elaborate, and the technology today with ice is come such a long way. I mean, there's computer generated ice, CNC ice. Basically, you plug the program in, the machine cuts it, you basically finish it. Then I was doing old school 3D carvings with a chainsaw and the die grinders, which I got to do one for this weekend for a wedding. So I would say I'm retired, but people call me, and I said, I spent a lot of money last week in California. So just, I'll go out and spend some more, do some more, ice. And that's what I did.
This thing that's happening this weekend for this wedding, how long will it take you in time to make this carving?
It won't take me more than an hour. I never do more than an hour. I don't work out. I don't work in the freezer. I work outside the freezer. So I work fast.
Okay.
A lot of carvers work in the freezer. I don't. I never did. I never had a big freezer big enough where I could work in. Well, yeah, I did, but I don't like the cold. I mean, I would compete, up in Michigan every year, or, wherever in cold areas. But I would rather be warm out and carve the ice. Just got to work fast.
Okay. So you didn't charge enough. And also it did take a huge piece out of your shoulder.
Yeah. And but the horror stories were more, getting it from point A to point B without breaking it. And setting it up. So those, were probably, you have some mishaps and every once in a while, everybody breaks them. They all do. And there's only a handful of ice carvers in the country. And, got popular for a while, probably, then it kind of, with the economy slowing down and everything else. So a lot of businesses just closed up, especially with COVID. I was fortunate enough where I said I was going to retire right then. Right, I said when I turned 60, I'm going to retire, and it happened during COVID, so it was a perfect time for me. I kept that home, and my shop is basically on my property, so I don't have a storefront because it's not like I have a whole bunch of ice sculptures done to have to show off. I have pictures and stuff. I had a website and all that stuff. I shut it all down and just, do you want it? I still have. I'll send you a picture. Do you want this? Do you want this? This is what I can do. It's definitely a different and unique business. And people, it gives that wow factor to anything, the weddings and stuff, or a party or anything. And I even gotten a couple, I got a movie, did some for movies and stuff. So it was neat.
I'm going to ask you to put on your teacher hat.
Oh.
As somebody who's been in like 40 years in the food industry, started your own business, and you are teaching the next generation. What is your best advice you can give to somebody starting off on their journey? And it doesn't have to necessarily be for culinary, of something for them that they should be doing and something they shouldn't be doing.
Okay, first of all, if you want to do it, be passionate about it. I think I tell them, think of anybody great out there, whether you're an actor, an artist, an athlete. What do they do to get great? They practice all the time, their craft, and they love it. They're passionate about it. And be passionate about what you do. Take pride in it. If you take, you take pride in whether you're cooking, like whatever you do, no matter what, whether you're cleaning bathrooms, when you're sweeping floors, you take pride in whatever you do. You do 100% and do a great job. It's just so much better. You're going to love it. I forget that phrase, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And, some people they're great actors. They're really good at what they do. They're passionate about it. Artists, songwriters, I see. And even people, whether you're an accountant, if you love numbers, I couldn't do that, but I'm more like a kinetic person, but whatever you do, be passionate about it, and you'll be successful if you're passionate. If you're not, if you're taking it as a job, you're not going to be successful. You got to put your heart and soul into whatever you do. That's what I do, and I'll tell anybody that. And you could see the greatness coming out of some of them that are really passionate.
And finally, take this moment and put out whatever you would like to put out. Where can people find you? Plug yourself, wherever you want to.
Well, I'm in North Carolina right now, and I'm on Facebook. I'm Al Romano on Facebook. I'm Chef Al Romano on Instagram, and I'm not a big social media person. I'm really learning how to do it. Honestly, I'm just I'm not.
Just like a fish to a bicycle.
Exactly. Exactly. So I have people help me sometimes to do it, put it out there. I mean, I used to have a website, but I don't anymore. So I have a lot of pictures on my Facebook and stuff, ice sculptures and from the past. But really, as far as I'm at my college. I just got to be officially a professor, which is kind of an honor. I don't know how many chef professors but which is it's kind of neat. So I'm officially that. So you can find me, riding my Harley. You can see me on car shows a lot of times. I built an old Corvette. I love cars and bikes, and and just enjoying myself, having a good time. That's what I love to do.